Jesus Christ. Reading this thread, I can't help but think my own personal whatever it is might be one of these. Quick rundown of what's going on. Tall, dark man, wears a plague doctor's mask. Comes to me every night between the hours of 3 and 5 a.m. I can't speak or move, and etc. I can only move my eyes. He stands right at the side of my bed, mostly. Sometimes he's hovering directly above me. Can't always see him perfectly. Fucking talks to me, usually about my activities or general thoughts throughout the day. For example, he's asked me about my writing, what I want to do this summer, how I'm going to live after I eventually move out, when I'll finally go camping, etc. He knows I can't answer and just prattles on for maybe about 10 minutes a day. Usually gives sound advice if I need it. He even knows when I've told people about him, and has called me out on it before, but doesn't mind so much. This has been going on since August 2011, and only in the last 6 months has it become a nightly thing. Used to only be every couple of nights. I've also had some really fucked up paranormal encounters, where he's come to me after the fact and told me about what it was that I saw, heard, or whatever. Sometimes, he'll even warn me before I go places, or tell me about things that I didn't even know I was near. I don't think he's evil by any means, but I can't really say he's my guardian or some shit. He just seems like a friendly passerby that won't leave. Pick related. Closest thing Google Images had to him. Same anon, still bored enough to be on X, so bumping with a couple of stories. Condensing them as best as I can, but there are 3 of them and I have a deadline tomorrow, so I'm gonna make this quick. If anybody gives half a fuck, feel free to say so and validate my existence. December 2011. A friend of my mother's is moving into a new house. Her husband is away on business. And she's pregnant. Asks me to help unload stuff, set up the house, and clean. The neighborhood isn't great, so she asked me to spend the night because she doesn't want to risk anything happening while she's alone. I get an air bed on first floor in the living room that has sliding glass doors leading to the backyard, and no curtains to speak of. The house has been giving me the creeps all day. Lots of clunking and shit coming from the pipes. Can't sleep. End up laying there until about 1:30 a.m. There is literally no sound coming from anywhere. Suddenly, I hear the side door opening in the kitchen, 20 feet away. I'm frozen fucking solid and in a cold sweat. Can hear loud shuffling heading up the stairs. Pretty sure it was plastic grocery bags. Goes up and never comes down. Don't sleep. My doctor friend visits at his usual time. Says only one thing to me. Don't move. I can see him sort of glide off into the other room where the staircase is. A minute later, and there's this ungodly screeching coming from upstairs, followed up by the violent clunking of the pipes from earlier. Don't sleep all night after that. The next day, the pregnant chick wakes up. Her own airbed was on the other side of the living room in the corner, and tells me I look like shit. I explained to her what happened last night. Calls bullshit, but is still a little freaked. Sends me upstairs with a baseball bat. Shit's a fucking mess. Windows were broken. There's a hole punched in the wall. Some of the boxes were ripped up by what looked like a dog or a cat. The fucking toilet seat in the upstairs bathroom was snapped in half, and the back lid of the toilet was completely gone. Didn't find anybody or anything though. Call the cops finally. They tell us it was probably just some hobo looking for a place to crash. That day, the chick's husband comes home and I go back to my own place. That night when the doc comes for his nightly checkup, he tells me I was lucky I didn't open the closet when I was up there. Don't even fucking go back to that place. July 2012. The couple moves out. 3 weeks later, some dude is killed at the place, and it makes the local paper. Clawed to death by a bear in the backyard. There was no fence, and the place is near the woods. Once again, the doc comes and tells me it was no bear. My fucking face during the whole ordeal. And another. June 2012. Perfect weather to go in a woods. Decide, fuck it, and camp behind my house. since this is a fairly woodsy state, Washington. Gear up, go out, and set up camp about a mile out. All goes well until nightfall. Fucking shit, I forgot the flashlight. Why am I so autistic? Like an idiot, I go back to my house to get one. Easily make it back even in the dark because I've been out this way a million times. Grab flashlight and the lantern, then head back outside through the back door. Standing at the edge of the woods is this motherfucker. Like, I don't even fucking know what it was. Certainly not an animal from around here. Long ass legs, down on all fours, skinny as shit, long neck. No hair anywhere. It's standing right at the start of the path I always use to go into woods. And it's looking right at me. Jesus fucking Christ. That is a big mouth. Slowly back up to the door, not taking my eyes off of the thing. Open it up and go back inside. Lock the door, shove a chair in front of it, and turn on all the lights. That night, I don't even lay down to go to sleep. The doc comes anyway. I'm frozen in front of my computer. Don't go back. Don't go back in the woods for 2 days, leaving all my shit out there. I grab a couple of my buddies to come with me because I'm a pussy. We get to my campground, and there's nothing left but my torn up sleeping bag. No trace of anything else in the area. No footprints, no markings, nothing but the cotton from my gutted sleeping bag. I never went back to that spot, and there is no force on earth that can make me. Last story coming up. Last week, tried going urban exploring because I'm a dumb shit. Had this one place pegged for the last couple of months. Posted on X before about it, pic related. Wait until nighttime, grab gear. My camera is dead though. Picture's about 2 months old, took it when I was out scouting for places. This is about half a mile away from my house, in the opposite direction of the campground in my previous story. So I figure there's no chance of running into it. The night before, the doc comes to me and tells me to be quiet. Spend all day wondering what the fuck he meant. Shrug it off and set out for the warehouse. Get inside. Loads of old equipment lying around. All rusted to hell and back because the roof is shit and leaks like a horny bitch. Really deep inside, there's this makeshift skate park. Ramps and crap made out of wood and chunks of concrete. Really wishing I had my camera right now. Suddenly, footsteps. I duck behind a pile of crap in the corner by one of the doors. 2 guys walk in from the other side of the room, dressed in black, talking about I don't know what. Another guy comes in from the door to my left, with a black plastic bag. He greets the other 2 coldly, then throws the bag at them. The 2 open it up, whisper something to each other, and throw it back. The guy with the bag says with a heavy Irish accent, "All in place for the delivery." One of the 2 in black just nods. The other has his cell phone out and is typing something. Irish guy says, "It's been a pleasure, gents." Then turns on his heels and leaves the way he came. The 2 guys in black just stand around for a few minutes, seemingly for no fucking reason whatsoever, before leaving. All this time, I'm scared out of my mind. No idea what the fuck just happened. I wait another half an hour before leaving just to be safe. When I get home, I call the cops, but they never follow up. Trying to sleep that night was a nightmare. Didn't stop Doc. "You need to stop sticking your nose in where it doesn't belong. I know you aren't trying to, but you simply must put in some effort against it." Still haven't bought a new camera so I can go back and take more pictures. And I still don't know what the fuck the doc is.
I threw a rock down the well. It clattered against the wall as it bounced from one side to another. I waited, straining both ears. No indication that it had reached the bottom. "Hello?" I whispered tentatively, in a low, shaky voice as I peered down into the darkness, my eyes unable to penetrate its inky depth. My voice was reverberating against the sodden ancient walls, less into a discordant choir of echoes that was harassing the stillness of the enclosed darkness within. Something felt off. I was not supposed to be there. It had taken up most of the evening for me to gather up my courage to make my way across the barren land, alone, before entering the heathenberry forest. Jamie Colden's words had been echoing in my mind all the way to the clearing. If something answers you, just make sure you don't tell it your name. He had warned me the day before as we walked across the edge of the forest, adjacent to an old dilapidated train tunnel due north. Why not? I had asked him. And what will answer me? He had been staring at the reddening summer sky, his pale blue eyes sparkling with mischief and amusement. You ask too many questions, Marcus Wellington. Stupid questions. Just don't do it, all right? Not too many people know where to find that stinking old well. They go there to be told if they are going to be successful or not in their lives. You toss a dime over for each question. Make it quick. Never ask questions whose answer you don't want to know. Most importantly, never tell it your name, or it will steal your soul away. I had gasped and cringed at him because I had never heard any kid my age use that kind of harsh language before. But Jamie had always been one to act cool and older than his actual age for attention. Besides, he was much older than I was. You're kidding, right, Jamie? The only reason why I am here talking to you now, because I feel sorry for you. Your father was a good man. He helped my family a lot. I'm not doing this for you, cretin. Kathy and I will leave for this city next week. Don't tell anybody I told you that. We've got everything figured out already. Her friend has a place for us somewhere. We're getting married as soon as we leave this stinking village, and we're not coming back. Her father will skin me alive if he ever sees me again after running away with his only daughter. His pale, round face had been contorted into a mixture of determination, hope, but also anguish as he continued. If you're smart, you get out of this place as soon as you can before you lose your mind as well. These people are hopeless. Or go to that well. Whatever, if that makes you happy, I don't care. Wait until the clock strikes midnight. Make sure nobody follows you or knows where you're going. You have to do it alone, or else it won't answer you. You see that hill over there? He pointed to the west at a dark bluish hill looming over the plain in the distance. There's a small trail on top of it. Follow it. It will lead you due south into the forest. As the bush grows thicker, that you can barely smash through it, you'll arrive at a small clearing in the middle of the forest, where you can weave easily through the trees. That's where the well is. Don't follow the trail west beyond the clearing. There's marshes. People have drowned and died trying to make their way across the god-forsaken plain. And he had been right. The air had been chilly when I emerged from the tree line. I had found myself walking at a small, roughly circular clearing, which was devoid of anything taller than knee-high dandelions. And there in the middle of the mini savannah, almost hidden in the darkness from probing eyes, I had seen a small, dilapidated stone mound, its structure black and sunken. "Hello?" I called out again, louder but still as hesitant. My whole face tensed hard. This time, a dreadful silence was filling up the well. There were no echoes, as if the well had just swallowed my voice whole. Confused, I bent down to pick another rock off the ground. "Hello?" A voice suddenly rose. I gasped in horror and cringed away, only to trip over my own feet. I fell backwards and landed hard on my buttocks, as I sat there in the cold, hard ground and waited, feeling convinced that the devil himself was going to rear up from his subterranean tomb to get me. Something flashed across my mind. A cautionary tale Jamie had told me earlier today, before he left for the apple farm where he had been working for a few years. You dare to summon it, you have to finish your business there. Never forget to say thank you and goodbye when you're done. Otherwise, it would think you're not done and follow you around, watching you in the shadows everywhere you go. I struggled to rise to my feet and stood gazing intensely at the derelict stone mound, frowning at the ancient-looking symbols etched into its rough surface. My chest was heaving rapidly with fear and uncertainty. That voice had aroused something in me that I had never known I had. This primal fear of the unknown, of what awaited beyond the darkness. "Hello?" I chirped. "Hello?" It drawled, with a contemptuous voice that suggested disguised danger. It sounded warm, but also distant at the same time. There was an unnervingly familiar tone to it, I realized. It almost sounded like my own voice, only distorted, much deeper and feline-like. Don't be afraid. Come closer, it hissed, almost inaudibly. Why, what are you? I stammered. Well, I'm a wood fairy. It let out a gleeful chuckle. An image of a tiny winged human with pointed ears and delicate features drafted through my head instantly, which did not match the malicious voice from below. Really? Yes, it hissed loudly, as if blowing air through gritted teeth. You see those symbols? They are called Ogam inscriptions, an ancient magic spell to keep me here. I can neither hurt you nor touch you, even if I wanted to. I need your help. Will you help me? I was afraid of engaging myself more with this disembodied being, but I knew it was the only way for me. Nothing else would work. What is it? I miss my father. I started to sob. My shoulders shook vigorously as I rested my face down on the cold, rugged stone surface, feeling hopeless and defeated. And very soon I was overwhelmed with a sense of indignation and outrage again. I was not paying attention to my surroundings. The forest around me had fallen silent. The sithorism of the trees and the wind had ceased all of a sudden, as if the whole land was holding its breath in anticipation. What is it? It asked again, colder and more demanding. I lifted my face off the stone and stared into the darkness below, feeling slightly confused. As I narrowed my eyes to concentrate on trying to catch a glimpse of the slightest movement, I felt like the forest was closing in on me, disintegrating into shadowy walls that were pushing me incrementally from all directions towards the inky depth to answer to the call of the void. Hello? I leaned over the mound and arched my body to peer down. Tell me, what is it? What would you like me to do? I opened my mouth but could not find the words to say. I retreated, thinking maybe it was not a good idea. Maybe I should just go home immediately and never return to this blasted heath. You can tell me. What is it you want? I can help you, it said coyly. Can you bring him back to me? The words had escaped my lips before I could even stop myself. There were a few seconds of silence that almost made me turn on my heels and take off, not wanting to hear any more of what it had to say. It felt so wrong talking to something you could not see, because it was hiding in the dark, the embodiment of darkness itself. I toyed with the idea of what was real and what was not, but even then, I knew that I was trespassing the border of reality. Of course, it said. What, really? I asked. Would you believe me if I told you that your father was down here with me, looking up at you, and all you had to do was jump over to be with him? I don't think that's a good idea. I took a step away from the well, rubbing at my face. For one, I knew exactly where my father was, 6 feet underground at the Rocco Cherry Cemetery, a few miles due west from the outskirts of town, where we had had him interred a few weeks before, not in the bottom of an old dilapidated well. The concept of death was something I was still struggling to get a grasp on. For all I knew, he could be somewhere else as well, waiting. I was only a kid, and there was only a hint of skepticism flashing across my thoughts as I considered its words. Will I survive the fall when I can't even see the bottom? Is it telling me the truth? A cold, high-pitched laugh rose from below, devoid of any emotion. It sounded hollow and insincere. You're one smart kid. So, can you really? I hesitated. Yes, I will bring your father back to you. Will it make you happy to see him again? Surely it will. What? What's the catch then? I asked him cautiously. What do you want from me? Very bold of you to assume I want anything at all from you. Then, what? What is your name, dear? I opened my mouth to answer, but then Jamie's words the day before flashed across my mind again. I'm not allowed to tell you my name. Why? Now that's a lie. Who told you that? My friend? Well, what do we know about this little friend of yours? Isn't he as huge and slow as a grazing bovine on a summer day? Everyone knows the rules. We can't tell you our names. Well, everyone doesn't want to bring their father back from the dead, now do they? But you do. You've been missing him a lot, haven't you? And it's killing you. This is a very huge favor you ask of me. Besides, I only want to be your friend. Aren't friends supposed to know one another's name? Or at least we can stay on a last name basis if that's more convenient for you. Isn't there any other way than... Oh yes, there is. What is it? Please, tell me. I need human sacrifice. Blood. What did you just say? Blood? Human blood? It burst into a mirthless laugh that sounded unpleasant and cold. Wouldn't it be much easier if you just told me your name, my dear boy? Then I decided that it would be worth it to just go with it. All I had to do was tell it my name and my father would return to me. It wasn't rocket science. I opened my mouth, but whatever instinct had kept me from doing so for the last 20 minutes or so suddenly caught up to me again. Yes, friend, your name. Tell me your name, it said reassuringly. And you and your dear father will be reunited. That's all it takes. It took a power of will to break my silence, but between heaving breaths and gritted teeth, I finally relented. It was the right thing to do. That night I stumbled onto the truth about Heathenberry Forest, as it spoke to me of things beyond my comprehension. Catherine Deanshaw's eyes were puffy and red when I saw her the following day in the village. She seemed troubled and unhinged. She was looking in my direction for the briefest moment, in such a way as if wanting to ask me something, which, under different circumstances, if only things had been, I would have been more than happy to tend to. She had always been a nice girl. She waved at me and smiled confusedly, then walked away with John Clearwater, the son of the richest man in the village, with whom her father had always longed for her to be involved. It pained me not to be able to help her. It genuinely did. But I needed to disengage myself from any responsibility that was not my own. I had been looking forward to subsequently seeing things fall into place. My father's return. It was the only thing that mattered to me. I was only 14 after all.
I'll post here because I can't really find a better place, and I need to get this off my chest. Bear with me as I'm on my phone. Be 1 year ago, to the day. 1800, meet friends in a church parking lot. All 4 of us are Eagle Scouts. Will, Evan, and Brian. My name is Rob. Super excited. First in a desert trip. I'm no guns. I'm also no 4x4. All 4 of us are crammed into Will's Ford Explorer, plus a weekend's worth of camping supplies. Reach spot at 2300. It's a rock shelf that overlooks Giant Rock in California. I mentioned how it's kind of like The Hills Have Eyes. That movie scared the piss out of me for some reason. Will says that there are weird people out here. This is my nightmare.jpg. Pitch tent before it gets windy. Try to sleep. Can't. Stay up all night in sleeping bag with Evan's shotgun. Next day. After spending the early morning and mid-afternoon shooting, Will and I decide to go off-roading. His Explorer is hardly street-worthy, but we go anyway. Bring water and a .22. Having fun on a trail. Car is stuck in sand. Fuck. 3 miles directly to camp, over impassable terrain. Decide to start digging with butt of rifle. One digs, other looks out for help. Dig until 15:30. Dude, if somebody doesn't drive by soon, we'll be here all night. I agree. Lock up car. Start walking to the giant rock itself. It's 2 miles away directly. Bring rifle and water. Start walking. It's 110, no shade, no one in sight. Will mentions how This really is like the hills have eyes. Tactical nope in my head. Chuckle and say, yeah, nervously. About a mile in now. Keep going. Pass an old rusted out Jeep. Seriously fucking creeped out now. Start to think about the movie. What happened and why it did. Were those people looking for help? Start to look at everything for a tactical advantage over anyone or anything. There are so many large rocks, shadows and Joshua trees and rocks. Can't possibly find a tactical advantage. At this point, I'm freaking out. Ask Will if we can take a break. He says sure. I keep running things through my mind. See a person off in the distance. Tell Will we need to go now. He says not to worry about it. It's probably another camper. Maybe they can help. Figure gets closer and closer. It looks humanoid, but walks like slow monkey. Aisle we need to go. Turn around, turn back. It's gone. All Will. He says I must not be drinking enough water. Let's radio Brigand and Evan to let them know where we are. Attempt radio contact. Nothing but static. And a faint, I'm coming. Screech in the distance. Start to get really freaked out. Tell Will we can't stay here. We continue towards the rock. See that figure again. Radio comes on, and a faint, I'm coming, is heard. Something runs in front of us. About 100 yards off. Humanoid shape. Can't tell what it is for sure. Another screech, but closer. Ask Will if he heard it. He says, yes, it was nothing. Let's go. Will, that wasn't anything. Figure again appears to be closer. Tell Will to turn around. He does. He sees whatever it was. Actually yells, nope, out loud. He takes off, full sprint, towards the figure. He doesn't even have the 22. Screech is heard again, and the figure appears to be within 20 yards. But the radiating heat made it impossible to tell. I take off, run past the figure. It tears my favorite maiden shirt right off of me. Keep running. Don't stop. Ran past a giant rock. Ran for probably another mile on adrenaline. See guy on quad. Wave him down. Try to tell him what happened. He has no idea what I'm talking about. Offers me a lift to Will. He calls his friend with a Jeep to pull out the Explorer. Still freaking out. Fetal position. Can't handle it. Guy with Jeep shows up. Drive right by where the figure was standing when I ran past it. It's gone. No trace. Get Will's car out. Thank them for helping us. Head back towards camp. Ask Will to pull over. Right by where the thing took my shirt. It's gone. No shirt. No tracks. Nothing. We finally get back to camp. Brian says we look pale. Will and I just nod. We have no idea what just happened. Evan says we should eat something. That might help. Agree. After eating, take spotting scope out. Set up on self to overlook dry lake bed. Nothing important happening. A few fires in the distance. Dust trails from other off-roaders. But about 4 miles out, see a figure. It's moving slowly. Not towards us, though. Away. Don't even bring it up. Day number 2. Could not sleep at all. Stayed up, shotgun and sleeping bag. Very windy overnight. Knocked most of our stuff down. Noticed footprints around camp. Freaked out. Keep shotgun drawn while checking camp. Evan and Brian think I'm batshit insane. Look around our fire pit. It's warm. We're missing some wood. I look into it. Scraps of my maiden shirt and what I assume were animal bones are in the pit. Nope. Tell Evan and Brian to look in it. They ask why I burned my favorite shirt. I didn't. Evan says it's time to go. Now. Pack everything up. Drive away with guns out the windows. Will and I are having a breakdown. He can barely drive. Brian takes the wheel, traveling down the climb. Notice 2 crosses on the side of the trail. They weren't there yesterday. See humanoid leaning on a Joshua tree. Brian, step on it. Creature comes out from the tree, into middle of trail, behind us. It just stands there, and one final screech. I don't know what it was or what I saw or what. I'm too piss scared to talk about it with Will because I don't like to talk about it, and neither does he. I suppressed it immediately afterwards, and it never came up until I got a reminder on my phone for the trip. I set it up to do yearly reminders, I guess. But fuck me. This kept me up at night for 3 weeks. I no longer wear any of my maiden shirts, and I refuse to go out there ever again. I'm scared, Kay. I never want to remember this, and maybe talking about it will help, but I think I'll be sleepless for a few more weeks.